Okay, good evening, namaste, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Dr. Vineet Chander, and I serve as one of the deans in the Office of Religious Life at Princeton University. In particular, I direct our university's Hindu Life program, bless you. It's kind of funny when someone from the Office of Religious Life blesses you. I guess it has maybe extra blessings going to you. But I have the pleasure of directing the university's Hindu Life program, which is the primary sponsor, along with our Princeton Hindu Satsangam student group, of this evening's talk. This evening, we are so happy to host a renowned teacher, as many of you know, Sadhu Yogananddas, known to many here with deep respect and affection as Pujya Yoganand Swamiji. He is joined this evening by Pujya Nilkant Swamiji, and we offer him our gratitude and respects as well. Now, it's so wonderful to see you all gathered here tonight, and before I turn it over to a formal introduction of our speaker, I wanted to just say a few words about the space that we're in. We are in Makash Hall here at Princeton in room 50. And as some of you know, this is a space that holds a remarkable legacy. More than a century ago, in May 1921, I believe, Albert Einstein stood on this very stage as part of his very first visit to the United States and to Princeton, which he would come to call home for some time. And on that fateful day in 1921, Albert Einstein, on this stage, spoke to an enthusiastic audience on his, at the time, fairly new theory of relativity. Let's soak in that history, that legacy that we are all now connected to, that we are all now a part of. And I want us to reflect, if we can, on the fact that tonight, in that same spirit of curiosity and discovery, we come together to learn, to reflect, and to engage. And this time on this stage, we have a speaker who will draw explicitly from a sacred text that, interestingly enough, Einstein himself would likely have approved of wholeheartedly, because reportedly, he was an admirer of the Bhagavad Gita. Before we begin this evening's program, I want to just share a couple of quick housekeeping notes. Restrooms are located downstairs in the basement. So we ask, if you do need to use the facilities, you can excuse yourself out of one of these exits and then proceed down to the lowest level of this building. Throughout the presentation, we will have opportunities for you to submit questions that we will draw from for a brief question and answer session if time permits. And the way you're going to do that is via the QR code that you can see on the slide and on subsequent slides. So please don't be shy about that. Go ahead and click onto the QR code and share your questions, which will then collate and try to bring to Swamiji in conversation as time allows. Now, generally, I have the honor, and it really is an honor, to introduce guest speakers at events like this, but this evening I'm going to do it a little bit differently. So it is now my honor to introduce a penultimate speaker, before our speaker, to introduce someone who is very special on this campus and very special to me, who in turn will introduce our distinguished guest speaker. The person I'm speaking of is, as many of you know, Vasant Patel, class of 2026. Vasant is a student in Princeton School of Public and International Affairs, affectionately known as SPIA on this campus. But Vasant is so much more than just his major. He truly embodies, in fact, what it means to be a thoughtful global citizen and a person of service. After his first year of Princeton, which is when I met Vasant, when most of his classmates could hardly see beyond the orange bubble, as Princeton is known, Vasant made the extraordinary choice to take a gap year away from his studies in order to do full-time seva with the BAPS Swaminarayan Akshardham community that plays such a special role in his life. He spent that year helping in the construction of the magnificent mandir and offering his talents in everything from stone fitting and construction to community outreach to educational programming. His time there reflected and continues to reflect deep devotion and a commitment to service that transcends self-interest. It feels especially fitting that Vasant will introduce our very special guest this evening, because in many ways, Vasant's own journey of service is a living testament to the tradition of karma yoga and seva that our speaker represents and will share insights on tonight. So Vasant, would you please come up here and help us to welcome our very special guest speakers.
Thank you, Vineet. He's too kind. I actually did not expect him to do that. But Vineetji is a very, very, very kind guest, and actually the applause should be given to him for helping us figure out a way to call Yogananda Swami to our esteemed university and have him here to present. So let's give a round of applause to Vineet. But it is my honor and privilege today to introduce two esteemed and two very, very, very special guests into our assembly today. Of course, you know Sadhu Yogananddas, who is seated right here. But I would like to first introduce Pujya Nilkan Seva Swami. And as we introduce them, Vineetji can welcome them to Princeton University by garlanding them as is in our Hindu tradition. So Vineetji, you can do that. Pujya Nilkan Seva Swami, who is seated in the front, was born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts. He graduated with a BBA from the University of Massachusetts and was initiated as a Swami in 2004 by His Holiness Pramukh Swami Maharaj. Since 2014, Pujya Nilkan Seva Swami has been serving as the head Swami of all the mandirs and centers in the Northeast region with over 35 mandirs, including the BAPS Swaminarayan Akshardham in Robbinsville. He is extremely intelligent, personable, and caring, and along with all of his responsibilities, he has personally visited thousands of devotees over the past decade to help them grow spiritually. So let's introduce, once again, with a round of applause, Pujya Nilkan Seva Swami. And now, we will introduce Pujya Yogananda Swami. Pujya Yogananda Swami was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. He was enrolled in a 6-year medical program, but decided to become a Swami after finishing his first year of medical school. He was initiated as a Swami in 2005 by His Holiness Pramukh Swami Maharaj. Pramukh Swami Maharaj then selected him to study the Hindu scriptures and philosophy further under the guidance of esteemed scholars within India. He studied for 14 years in an ashram in India and received his Master's of Arts degree in Vedanta, Hindu philosophy, from Somnath University and became an Acharya in Vedanta. He is an eminent speaker and thinker and has traveled across the world to deliver lectures. He is known for taking complex concepts and explaining them simply, making the ancient wisdom of our Shastras digestible and immediately relevant to our modern day problems. So without further ado, I hand the podium off and I hand the mic off to Pujya Yogananda Swami. Thank you.
Kararavindena padaravindam mukharavinde viniveshayantam Vatasya patrasya puteshayanam balam mukundam manasasmarami. First and foremost, I want to thank, as Vasant Bhai said, Vineet Bhai and all of you for taking time out today on your Friday evening to be with us today, to learn about one of the most important topics from our most sacred Hindu scripture. The topic of Karma Yoga, before we go into it, let's give a little bit of background for people who may not be familiar with what the Srimad Bhagavad Gita is. We need to set up before we get to exactly the put down. 5,000 years ago, cousins were quarreling. On one side there were the Pandavas, on the other side were the Kauravas. The Pandavas, they had God with them, and they were on the side of duty, of justice. The Kauravas were on the side of injustice. They didn't have God with them. But the Kaurav army was larger. And in Kurukshetra, 5,000 years ago, on the day of Magshar Sud Ekadashi, in the winter months in India, they had gathered and they were ready for war. And as the two armies early in the morning faced each other, Arjun, whose charioteer, whose driver at that time was Sri Krishna Bhagavan himself, he told Krishna Bhagavan, "Take my chariot in between the two armies so that I can see who I have to fight against. I want to see where all the enemies are organized. Senayor ubayor madhye ratham stapaya mechuta. Ker maya saha yodhavyam asmin rana samudyame." It's important to know who I'm fighting against. So Krishna Bhagavan takes Arjun's chariot before the war, in between the two armies. And Krishna Bhagavan says, "See your enemies." It was a direct command from God to look at the people across from him as his enemies. But at that time, Arjun, instead of seeing his enemies, he became overcome by ignorance. Krupaya paraya vishto. He knew that these people were bad. They were unjust. And the writer of the Bhagavad Gita uses the word atatai. He knew that they were terrorists. They had killed so many innocent people and they were destined to kill many more. But at that time, instead of seeing them as evil people, he saw them as his family. He saw them as his teachers. He saw them as his uncles, as his gurus, his guides, his mentors. And he became infatuated. He became so lost and confused, he didn't know what to do. So he stepped off of the chariot. He went behind. And Krishna Bhagavan was a bit surprised. Everyone was surprised. What's happening? And then Arjun tells Krishna Bhagavan, "Siddhanti mama gatrani, mukham cha parishushyati, vayapatuscha sharire me roma harshascha jayate, gandivam sransate hastat, tvakcheva paridayate, nacha shaknomi avastatum brahmativa cha me manaha." Krishna, I don't know what's happening to me, but I'm getting dizzy. My skin is burning. I can't hold my bow. I'm overcome. My entire body is shaking. And he starts to cry. This is the winter months of Kurukshetra, northern India. North India is at the foot of the Himalayas. Every year, even to this day in 2025, every winter, because it's so cold in North India, nearly 50 people die in the cold. Every year. 5,000 years ago, in the cold of the Himalayas, Arjun is sweating. Imagine how bad he must be confused. Imagine how much he must be burning inside. If in your house, one place, like the kitchen, has some electrical overload, the entire house loses power. That's what's happened to Arjun. He has the knowledge, he has the skills, he has the experience on how to fight a war. But right now, he can't even pick up his bow. One emotional overload, and everything has failed him. If you're a student here at the Orange Bubble, and let me just say thank you for inviting more orange into the Orange Bubble. If you're a student here, you've studied for the exam, you've practiced for the exam, you know the topic. And the moment you come to sit for the exam and you pick up your pen and you look at the paper, something overcomes you. And sometimes we get into this situation that despite having everything in front of us, we're unable to actually act upon it. And Krishna Bhagavan sees this. And Krishna Bhagavan's situation is unique. His response is, prahasan eva. He laughs. He doesn't laugh at Arjun, he laughs at the situation. This is also important. Imagine you go to the doctor, and you tell the doctor, my throat hurts, I've been coughing, sneezing, my eyes are red, I have some skin rashes, I don't know what's happened. And the doctor says, oh, I've had a dozen people like this in the last few months, and every one of them, it's very serious. I don't know what's wrong, we can't get our hand on it. The disease, whatever it is, you'll start to feel twice as many symptoms. Just the stress of the doctor doesn't know, the doctor's response is this. But if you go and you explain your symptoms to the doctor and the doctor laughs and says, don't worry about it. I've had a dozen people with the same issue. Everyone's doing just fine today. Here, take this medicine, you'll be fine. Even before you eat the medicine, half the disease is gone. The response of the doctor can help alleviate half of the tension. Arjun and Krishna Bhagwan are in the same situation. Let's understand that Arjun and Krishna Bhagwan are cousins. So as many relatives that Arjun has, that's how many relatives that Krishna Bhagwan has on the opposite army. But one is crying and one is laughing. What the Bhagavad Gita is going to teach us is that in life, there are many times where you might need to cry. But if you imbibe the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita, the next time that situation comes, you can laugh at it. There's nothing wrong with crying. Arjun was crying. Arjun didn't have God in his village. He didn't have God via Zoom call. He had God right in front of him. So the time may come in everyone's life where you have God or Guru right in front of you, and yet you have to cry. But the Gita is teaching us, cry once, but then imbibe the wisdom that you never have to cry for it again. Many years ago, our Guru Pramukh Swami Maharaj, he was in the village in Gujarat called Ahmedabad, and he went to the Gita Mandir there. And at that time, the Mahant of the Mandir, the head of that Mandir, Mangal Anandji, he spoke on the Bhagavad Gita. And then he requested Pramukh Swami Maharaj to speak briefly about the importance and the unique aspects of Hindu Dharma. Now listen carefully to what Pramukh Swami Maharaj said. He said, Hindu Dharma is unique because Hindu Dharma from day one doesn't give you a false promise that you'll never have a problem in your life. Instead, Hindu Dharma tells you that from day one, every person born in this world is guaranteed problems. But we also have the wisdom to help you get past your problems. That is what's unique about Hindu Dharma. The Srimad Bhagavad Gita has many different types of wisdom. But the wisdom that we want to talk about today, that's going to apply to all of us, is the wisdom of Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga, I'm going to break it down in 5 steps. These aren't in any linear fashion throughout the Bhagavad Gita, but through a compilation, I'm breaking it down into 5 steps. The first step of Karma Yoga. Sve sve karmani abhirataha sansiddhim labate naraha. Everyone has to perform action. Arjun is in a situation where in his mind he thinks that the best recourse is to run away from war entirely. Avoiding the problem doesn't make the problem go away. Digging your head in the sand doesn't make the problem go away. You have to face the situation. One time there was a student who went to a teacher and he complained. He said, why did you give me 50% of my exam? The teacher asked him, how much effort did you put in? Well, I put in 50%. You got exactly what you put in. The teacher said, if you're only putting in 50%, then why do you expect more results? In our lives, whenever time we have, when we get our results and we feel sad or we feel uncontent about them, dissatisfied, the dissatisfaction usually lies because we know we could have done better. Water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, not 99, not 99.5. When you put in 100% of the effort, then you get 100% of the results. Many years ago, Martin Luther King once said, no matter what task you're given, even if it's as simple as sweeping the floor, sweep the floor in such a way, the way that Michelangelo would paint pictures. Sweep the floor in such a way, the way Beethoven would compose music. Sweep the floor in such a way, the way Shakespeare would make his plays. Sweep the floor in such a way that the heavens and earth, every person will pause, and they will say, a great man came here once, and he swept the floor. Everything we do in life, we do it. But for some reason or another, we haven't put our full effort into it. We have to make the most of every moment we have. There are 3 things that Krishna Bhagavan says that are stopping you. Alasya pramada nidra bihi. We'll take 2 points. The first is laziness. If you wake up in the morning and I send you a text message that I will give you $86,400 today, and you can use it however you want, but whatever's left over before you go to sleep, I want it back. You're going to send me a message back, Swami, don't even bother coming. I'm going to use all of it. Because you know that, why give it back? In the same way, we wake up every morning and God has given us 86,400 seconds. And whatever we use, that's used. And whatever we don't use, we lose it. In English, we have a saying, time is money. But the saying is wrong, because time is actually more than money. Money you can store. If you lose money, you can earn it back. If you lose time, you don't get it back. You can't store time. Time is more valuable than money. So make the most of all the time we have. And the thing that gets into it, pramad. Pramukh Swami Maharaj defined pramad as not doing what we're supposed to do, but instead doing something else. And the biggest obstruction, the biggest thing taking our attention away from what we have to do is, if you just tap your hand on your pocket right now, everyone has one. Some of you are very brave. You might even have 2 devices. Our phones, social media, how much time goes into that? We don't lose hours at once. We lose it in minutes. Now, there might be times when you're waiting in line to get onto the flight. You're waiting to pick up your order for coffee. It's a minute, it's 2 minutes. You want a simple distraction. But what's happened to us over time? Bhagwan Swaminarayan's first spiritual successor was a Swami by the name of Gunatitanand Swami. And he used to tell a story. He said one time there was an old woman living in a hut. And then all of a sudden she heard this noise outside. Ow, ow, something's happened, someone help, someone help. So she came outside and she saw the prince outside. The prince had been walking through the village and he had stubbed his toe and there was some blood coming out. But there was nobody there to help the prince. The woman went inside, she brought some fabric, she tied the wound. The prince was so pleased, she said, "Lady, in the future, whenever you need something, send me a message. You help me, I'll help you. A promise is a promise." So the prince went home. A few days later, a stray cat came into the woman's hut. So the woman sent a message to the prince, "I need help getting this stray cat out of my hut." The prince came with the army and he told them, "Light the cannons, blow the hut away." And he destroyed the entire hut. That's not the method. What we need is a simple distraction, something to pass 1 or 2 minutes, and then we open social media, and that sensory overload, it literally is blowing our brains out. This is not the method that we need to do. So what's happened over time is that we become immune to what we should be doing. And these two things, aras and pramad, laziness and just being distracted all the time. Because of that, we can't do what we have to do, and when we are doing it, we can't put in 100% of the effort. One time, our Guru Mahan Swami Maharaj, he was traveling in the villages, and he met a boy, and he was studying. And then, after visiting many devotees' homes, he came back, and the boy was still there reading his book. Mahan Swami Maharaj asked him, "So, are you reading?" The boy said, "Come on. Who are you to accuse me that I'm not reading? Of course I'm reading. Look, I've been here for the last 2 hours. You left, and you came back. I'm still here." Mahan Swami said, "Yeah, when I left, you were on page 25, and you're still on page 25. The page should be turning, and your mind should be still, but in place of that, the mind is moving, and the page is not moving. So this is what's happened to us over time. So the first thing, the first step of Karma Yoga, put your full energy into everything you do. When you study, that should be your sole intent in life. When you're working, make that your vision, your mission. For 8 hours, when you're at your desk, work. Now, when you work, Krishna Bhagavan acknowledges that there are going to be difficult times. He tells Arjun, "Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitosha sukha dukkadaha agama painas nitya tan titikshasvas bharata." Krishna Bhagavan explains to Arjun that there are going to be different experiences in your life. Some experiences will be warm, some will be cold, some will be good, some will be bad. You're guaranteed difficult situations. But what do you do in every situation? Tan titikshasva. Tolerate that difficulty. See it as an opportunity. Jonathan Haidt has written a book called The Coddling of the American Mind. And over time, all of us have become very comfortable in our lives. And so it's hard for us to get out of our comfort zone. So every time any situation happens that challenges us, we feel threatened, we feel unsafe. But instead, if we just take a paradigm shift, see every challenge as an opportunity, a chance to grow. In the Mahabharata, during this Kaurav and Pandav war, after 10 days, in the Kaurav army, one time one of the leaders of the army, his name was Duryodhana. He went to another leader in the army by the name of Dronacharya. And he told Dronacharya, he said, "You're fighting with me on my side, but it seems to me that you're not really fighting full-fledged with your heart. It seems that you have some sort of love towards the Pandavas. You're not fighting completely for me." And Dronacharya says to him, "Arthasya purusho dasa." Every man is a slave to money. So I'll tell you quite honestly, I live in your home, I eat your food. And that's why I fight on your side in the war. Physically, I'm with you, but my heart is with the Pandavas. So I don't know what to do. You tell me. Duryodhana says, "You should fight them. Fight them stronger." And Dronacharya says, "Look, you and Arjun, you two are equals. You want me to fight? I'm a senior. Why don't you fight him?" And Duryodhana says, "Fine." So he goes onto the battlefield and he challenges Arjun to a one-on-one war. And Arjun defeats him. He doesn't kill him, but he defeats him. So Duryodhana comes back to Dronacharya. And now he's angry. He says, "Give me some tricks. Show me some methods. Use something some magic, whatever you have, to help me defeat Arjun. So Dronacharya gives Duryodhana some special armor. And from head to toe, he covers him in this special armor. Duryodhana goes back into the battlefield, and he challenges Arjun. He says, now fight me. Again, Arjun takes out his bow and arrow, and he starts to hit Duryodhana the way he had a few minutes earlier, but now all of his arrows are falling off of him. Arjun is a bit confused. He looks at Krishna Bhagavan, his driver, his guide, his mentor, and he says, I don't understand. Just a few moments earlier, these same arrows were able to beat Duryodhana, but now I'm not able to do it. Krishna Bhagavan says, look closely. He's wearing this special armor. Arjun sees it, but then Arjun asks Krishna Bhagavan, what do I do? If I can't hit him in the chest, if I can't hit him in the legs, where should I attack him? Krishna Bhagavan says to Arjun, he says, look closer. There has to be some place where there's some overlap, or there's some stitching. There has to be some place. And Arjun looks closer, and he sees that there's a place here, underneath the fingertip and between the finger itself, that there was some stitching. Arjun tells Krishna Bhagavan says, fine, that's where you fire your arrows. So Arjun starts to fire arrows, and they hit Duryodhana in all of the fingertips. Duryodhana runs from the battlefield. He goes back to Dronacharya, and he says, you helped me, you gave me this armor, but still, even with your armor, I wasn't able to beat Arjun. Why am I not able to beat Arjun? And then he poses a question. He says, you're the teacher. Me and Arjun, we both studied under you. Me and Arjun, we both studied in the same place. Me and Arjun, we both studied for the same time. Why is there such a difference between me and him? This is what happens. We come to a university, or we have a job, whatever we're doing. Two students in the same university, in the same class, in the same field, but there's a vast difference when they both graduate. What was the difference? Dronacharya tells Duryodhana, I'll give you the two reasons why there's a difference between you and Arjun. First, Arjun has God. You do not. And the second is that Arjun was born and raised in the jungle, and you were born and raised in the kingdom. You have never seen any pain. You have never seen any difficulty in your entire life. That boy, when he was born, he was taking cold baths. He has tolerated hunger. He has tolerated the cold. He has tolerated the heat. He has seen difficulty, and that's why he is stronger mentally. From this, we can understand that whenever we have any difficult situation in our lives, if we want to master Karma Yoga, don't get sad. See that difficulty as a blessing from God, that He wants me to progress where I am right now. I can be better, and that's why God has given me this difficulty. These are the first two steps of Karma Yoga. One, do all actions with full effort. Second, accept all difficulties that come. These two steps, I'm going to put them into one category called the art of karma. And now the next three steps, I'm going to put them in a second category called the heart of karma. These two are physical changes, physical things that we can improve. Now we're going to go into a more spiritual level. The third step of Karma Yoga, Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha. Krishna Bhagavan tells Arjun, and throughout the entire third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, that you are not an individual. You are one person who is a part of a larger system. This entire world is connected. And if you don't see yourself as connected to every other person, and you become selfish, see yourself and only concern yourself with yourself, you'll make self-centered decisions. This thought in your mind to leave the war, to leave your problems, to separate yourself from the battle, this is selfish. But you have to protect all of India. You have to protect thousands and millions of people in the future. See yourself as a greater part of the community. It is our nature, especially in America, that the more money we get, there are certain luxuries that we first start to enjoy. Bigger cars, bigger houses. And after a certain time, the house can only reach a certain size. 5,000 square feet, 10,000 square feet, 20,000 square feet, 30,000 square feet. But then, how big can your house be? So the next step is to make your home into an estate. Acres on each side, acres behind you, acres in the front. The more money we get, the more we naturally separate ourselves from the community. The scriptures are telling us that if you want to be happy, and if you want to be at peace, don't separate yourself from society. Join into society more and more. This is what we see in the life of our Guru Pramukh Swami Maharaj. In the Gita, it says, Nimitta matram bhava savya sachin. Become an instrument. Pramukh Swami Maharaj, he's just one example of many people, great sages throughout Hindu Dharma. He built many mandirs throughout his time, but he wasn't just a mandir builder. He was an instrument for anyone who needed anything at any time. If the government of India needed help with any relief work, they would reach out to Pramukh Swami Maharaj. If another Hindu organization wanted help building a mandir, creating an image, he would help them. He spent his entire life helping other people, to the point where one time, in America, the organization Doctors Without Borders had decided that they wanted to practice in India, and they wanted to go to the tribal areas of northern Gujarat. So they reached out to Pramukh Swami Maharaj. Can you facilitate it? He helped arrange all of the logistics. The credit goes to Doctors Without Borders. But Pramukh Swami Maharaj helped them because he knew by helping them, they were going to help thousands of poor people. Pramukh Swami Maharaj's life motto was, in the joy of others lies our own. If we want to be happy, don't look for your own happiness. Look how you can make other people happy. Malcolm Gladwell has written a book called Outliers. And in there, he's written a case study about the city of Roseto, Pennsylvania. He said that all of the people in Roseto, Pennsylvania, thousands of people living there, none of them had alcoholism. None of them died of suicide. None of them had heart disease. All of them died of old age, all post 75, 80. So a doctor named Dr. Wolf went and he researched, what is the reason that everyone in this community lives? None of them have any negative aspects in their life, no addictions, no vices, and yet they all live happily. At first he thought it might be their diet, but they had all moved from Italy. So they had a very high cholesterol, rich diet. So that wasn't the cause. He thought maybe it was something in their genes. But after checking their blood, he saw it wasn't anything in their DNA. And then he came to a conclusion. He saw that the way that everyone, thousands of people, would come out into the streets every night. They would share food with their neighbors. They would spend time talking to each other. That when they were done with their work at home, they wouldn't just sit inside their home and watch TV. They would come out onto the street, walk up and down, and meet the community. And then he came to a conclusion. And this conclusion is written by Mr. Gladwell. He says that if you want to live a longer life, be a part of the community. If you want to live a healthier life, be a part of the community. And if you want to live a happier life, be a part of the community. Krishna Bhagavan is telling Arjun, every decision you make, see how it's going to impact the greater community. Always think about how you can bring joy to other people, and in that process, you will find your own joy. That's the third step of Karma Yoga. Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha. Now the fourth step of Karma Yoga. Krishna Bhagavan tells Arjun that if you want to become enlightened and imbibe any of the wisdom of this scripture of Hindu Dharma, he says, Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te gnanam gnaninas tattvadarshinaha. He gives four things. Now, three of those things are physical things that we do. And we do all of those things. But I'm not focusing on those three things. I'm focusing on the first. Tad vidhi pranipatena. Humility. Whatever you do in life, Arjun, do it humbly. If you go to different countries or in different states in India, they teach everything in different languages. For example, if you go to France, they teach you math, they teach you science, they teach you everything in French. If you go to Germany, they teach you everything in German. And if you go to America, if you're studying here, they teach you everything in English. That's the language. Mahant Swami Maharaj, our guru, he explains that humility is the language of spirituality. Whatever you do in life, if you can do it humbly, walk humbly, talk humbly, eat humbly, everything can be done with a streak of humility. For example, whenever we're walking down the street, we see somebody coming with their dog or somebody in a wheelchair. If we make way for them, we learn how to walk humbly, speak humbly, talk humbly. How do we address each other? If we use negative, derogatory terms, if we insult other people, that's not how a humble person would speak. Eat humbly. After this, there's prasad for everyone. Don't worry, it's there. And it's not going to run out. But if by chance there are only a few boxes left and we see that, oh, I'm one of the last people, it's going to run out, to forego the prasadam so that somebody else can have it is to eat humbly. Whatever we do, if we do it with humility, it becomes spirituality. You don't have to change what you're doing, but you have to just change how you do it. Yesterday was a very important day in Hindu Dharma called Dashera. It was the day that Ramchandra Bhagavan, one of the great avatars of Hindu Dharma, had killed and destroyed the demon Ravan. There's a story in the Ramayana. This scripture describes one story where one of Ramchandra Bhagavan's foot soldiers, Hanumanji, entered into Ravan's kingdom in Lanka, and he burned half of the city down. Ravan was surprised. He said, my security system is impenetrable. And yet this one soldier was able to come in and burn half of the whole town. They caught him, they brought him into the assembly, and Ravan asked him, who are you? What is your name? And Hanumanji says, Dasoham Kaushalendrasya. I am Ramchandra Bhagavan's humble servant. Ravan says, fine, but tell me your name, where you're from, where you trained, what are your skills? Tell me about you. Give me your introduction. And Hanumanji responds, everything I am can be summarized in this one line. Dasoham Kaushalendrasya. Everything else is etc., etc. It's not important. Ravan, the demon king, he realizes that this one person isn't going to say it, so he asks him another question. He says, you, one single soldier, were able to burn down half of my kingdom. How many people like you are in Ramchandra Bhagavan's army? And Hanumanji, he explains, there are hundreds of thousands of soldiers in Ram Bhagavan's army that eat out of golden plates. There are hundreds of thousands of soldiers in Ramchandra Bhagavan's army that eat out of silver plates. There are hundreds of thousands of soldiers in Ramchandra Bhagavan's army that eat from bronze plates. There are hundreds of thousands of soldiers that in Ramchandra Bhagavan's army that eat from lead plates. There are hundreds of thousands of soldiers in Ramchandra Bhagavan's army that eat off of banana leaves. And lastly, in the last category, there are millions of soldiers in Ramchandra Bhagavan's army that don't have a utensil to eat in. They eat from their hand. And in that last category, I am the last one. That is who I am. That is how many soldiers are in Ramchandra Bhagavan's army. Hanumanji wasn't the last one. He was actually one of the greatest soldiers. But all of his strength came from his humility. There is power in humility. It is the most important virtue in life because it itself is a separate virtue, but every other virtue you ever imbibe only appears good to other people if we're humble about it. All of our successes, other people aren't happy with them if we're not humble about them. So the fourth step is about humility. Now, how do we imbibe that humility? Shri Krishna Bhagavan tells Arjuna, Yo mam pashyati sarvatra, sarvam cha mai pashyati. For example, everyone here lives in and around the Princeton community, so let's assume that you're all, by God's grace, doing well in life. Everyone here is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm just going to say it. Now, if a multimillionaire comes into this room, we automatically, without being told, know that he's higher than us and we're lower, financially. He sits down in this reserve seating. A few minutes go by, and a billionaire walks into the room. That person realizes naturally, without being told, that this person has more than me, thus, in comparison, I am less. And then a trillionaire comes, maybe soon. A trillionaire comes into the room, and the billionaire feels small. In the same way, when we realize that the other person in front of us has something greater than us, we naturally become small. Krishna Bhagavan tells Arjuna, see me in everything, and see everything within me. God exists within everything. When we look at our spouse, when we look at our children, don't look at your children as small children. Look at them as different manifestations of God. All of a sudden, the way you view your children, the way you view your spouse, the way you view your friends, the way you view your teacher, everything changes. In Hindu Dharma, the original and main scripture are the Ved. The philosophical aspect of the Ved is called the Upanishad. There are 100 plus Upanishads, but there are 10 principal Upanishads. In that, the first Upanishad is called the Ishavasya Upanishad. The Ishavasya Upanishad has 18 different mantras or couplets in it. In that, the first mantra has 4 sections. In that, the first section has 4 words. Again, all of Hindu Dharma scriptures, the main are the Veds, the main of that are the Upanishads. In that, the first one is the Isha Upanishad. In that, the first mantra. In that, the first 4 words. God, first lesson when you come into Hindu Dharma, Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. God exists within everything. This is the first class of Hindu Dharma. If we look at our lives, everything that we've ever had, every argument, and not just our lives, throughout the world, every prejudice, every atrocity, every human atrocity, every atrocity against animals, against nature, every time there's been a war, every time there's been any ill will wished against any other person, it's because we've seen the other person as different from us. Because based on a skin color, something 1 millimeter thick, that if you took it off of the body, it would be translucent. If you go deeper, at the muscular level, at the organ level, we're all roughly 95% exactly the same. Go one step deeper. At the genetic level, 99.99%, we're all exactly the same. And now, to the spiritual level, every single one of us, all of our souls are exactly the same. All of our souls are different, but every soul is Sat Chit Anand. Every one of us is exactly the same. There is no man, there is no woman. There is no Christian, there is no Jew, there is no Muslim, there is no Hindu at the soul level. At the soul level, there is no rich, there is no poor, there is no young, there is no old. Every single one of us is exactly the same. And you go one step deeper, one God. Whether you call him Allah, or you call him Jesus, or you call him Krishna, or you call him Swaminarayan, one God exists within everyone. Now we are all automatically equal. We are in the famous Einstein Hall. Albert Einstein once said that it is harder to break a prejudice than it is to break an atom. He taught the theory of relativity. He taught E equals mc squared. But he also understood that the only way to go to a very minute level is going to take a lot of work. Humility, at its truest sense, comes when we realize that there is no prejudice anymore. Any prejudice we have towards anyone is because we see the other person as different from us. But God exists within every one of us. Now this seems like this is the epitome of Karma Yoga, but we have one more step. One more step. The soul of Karma Yoga. Understanding our purpose. Krishna Bhagavan tells Arjuna, perhaps one of the most famous Sanskrit couplets in all of the Bhagavad Gita, Karmarnyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhur mate sangostva karmani. In life, we've lost our purpose. It's not the weight you carry that breaks your back, it's how you carry it. The same door, the same key that locks the door is the same key that unlocks the door. It's just about how you twist your wrist. In India, we have rickshaws. And if you ever sat in a rickshaw, the rickshaw goes 20 miles an hour. And after 30 minutes, without paying any extra money, you've gotten a full body massage. You're exhausted. But if you sit in a plane, you're going 500 miles an hour and you can sleep. It's not the speed with which you're doing your karma. It's the level at which you do it. It's not how much karma you do. It's your technique. Two people fall in the water, both move their hands and feet. One is drowning, one is swimming. Why? Because one knows the technique. Karma Yoga, the highest level, is to understand the technique, the purpose of why we're doing what we're doing. There was a very famous psychiatrist by the name of Viktor Frankl. He had passed through multiple concentration camps throughout the Holocaust. And afterwards he wrote a book, and in his book he explained that if somebody else came into the concentration camps, within a few weeks I could tell whether this person was going to live or die, just by looking at their face. And then he gave his reason. He gave his experience. He said, if the person had a why to live, he would find a way to live. If you have a why, you will find a how. You will find a way. And one of the greatest examples of this comes in the Srimad Bhagavat itself. The writer of the Bhagavad Gita and the original guru of Hinduism is Ved Vyas. Many centuries ago, Ved Vyas was sitting outside of his ashram by the river Saraswati. Brahma Nadyam Saraswatyam Ashrame Paschime Tate, on the western banks of the river Saraswati. Outside of the ashram, Ved Vyas was sitting by himself and he started talking aloud. He was so sad, so depressed, so confused, so tense that he started talking to himself aloud. These are the types of situations that we get. Sometimes we don't know what's wrong. And because we don't know, we have to start saying it aloud to see if we can get to the root of the problem. And at that time, Vyasji started to describe his situation. He said, it's as if my soul has been shattered into 1,000 pieces. Perhaps it can be repaired, but even then, will the light shine the same? If you break a light bulb and you glue it back together and you put it back into its socket, the light will come, but it'll be fractured. Vyasji says, everything I have, everything I've done, but for some reason I feel asampanna eva abhati. It's as if I've gone bankrupt at the end of my life. I've earned all of this spiritual wealth. I've done all of these good things. And yet right now I'm empty inside. And so he's scared, he's confused, and he's frustrated. At that time, one of the great sages of Hindu Dharma, Naraji, is passing there. And he sees that Vyasji is in this dire situation. And he feels that if Vyasji is in this situation, then it's natural that everyone in India and everyone throughout the world, one day or another, will feel confused like this. There is going to be a time, now don't get scared. There is going to be a time in your life where you look back at your life and you feel that you didn't accomplish what you set out to accomplish. You feel dissatisfied, not with someone else, with your own life. You feel like, where did everything go? Where is the life that I lost in living? That was the situation that Vyasji had. So Naraji, he speaks to Vyasji, and he asks him a very probing question. He says, what's wrong? Vyasji says, I don't know. Naraji says, don't worry. Let me help you get to the root of the problem. This is one of our biggest issues. Many years ago, in Carnegie Mellon University, they may still have the tradition, they have a system where they have a lecture called the last lecture. Every year, they select one professor to pretend as if it's his last year in life, his last year on earth. What would he tell his students? Now, at that time, he's not going to talk about computer science or engineering. He's going to talk about life lessons. One year, they had selected a professor. His name was Randy Pausch. Now, Randy Pausch, after being selected for this speech, soon after he was diagnosed with cancer. And he knew that he only had a few months left to live. So what was supposed to be just a visualization, a thought experiment, actually became true. Now this was going to actually be his last lecture. He gave that lecture became a book, and the book is famous right now. It's called The Last Lecture by Randy Pausch. In there, he gives one chapter, one point where he says, treat the disease, not the symptoms. This is one of our mistakes. And the example he gives is, in his university, there was another teacher who had gotten into some debt. Now, because of the debt, the repercussions were she has stress, frustration, anxiety. To relieve her stress, she started to pay for classes in yoga. She would do deep breathing, inhaling, exhaling. She would do her stretches. And she felt relief because yoga will give you physical and mental relief through breathing, through physical exercise. One day, Randy Pausch found out about this. And the teacher was explaining that I feel my relief through yoga. Randy Pausch said, how much debt do you have? I don't remember the exact number. He said, X amount of $1,000. How much do you pay for each class? X amount of dollars. Randy Pausch said that if you stop going to class, and instead of going to class, you take a second job at this much salary, that in 6 months, you'll be out of debt entirely. Right now, you're going to class to treat the stress. But if you get out of debt, then there won't be any root for the stress at all. And then Randy Pausch said this, treat the disease, not the symptoms. Naraji is going to treat Vyasji. He's not going to treat the symptoms. He's going to get to the root of the disease. He says, okay, the first thing we need to understand is, have you done anything wrong in your life? Because if you've done something wrong to someone, then you have to be afraid. They might take retribution. You have to sleep with one eye open. If you do something bad, that karma will come back and you'll have to suffer. Have you done anything bad in your life? Vyasji says, no, I have done nothing bad in my life. I've lived a good, honest life based on the principles of the scriptures. Good. Second thing, now you're not in negative, but you're still at zero. Have you done anything positive in your life? Have you done any service, community service? Have you helped society in any way? In the joy of others lies our own. And Vyasji says, I have. I've written so many different scriptures throughout history to help all of the people of the world get closer to God, live good, ethical lives, live lives where they can support their family and also progress spiritually. That was my service to the entire public, to the world. Okay? So you haven't done anything bad. On top of that, you've done good things. Have you ever offered devotion to God? Do you have God? Do you have a guru? And Vyasji says, yes. Whenever the time has come to offer worship to any Hindu avatar, I have done that. I have prayed to them. I have done all of my traditions and rituals full-fledged. I have fulfilled all of my rights. I've done everything. And then Naraji says, okay, good. So we've got everything on the plus side, and yet you still don't have peace. Is that right? Vyasji says, yes, that's my situation. I want to bring this into 2025 on 3rd October, Friday. Our situation. We're not doing anything bad. In fact, many of us here are doing good things. You are helping in the community. You might be helping in some other place, helping community progress. On top of that, many of you are devotees of different gods. So you're doing your traditions, you're keeping your rituals, you're keeping your culture alive. You're doing everything that should give you peace and not doing anything that should take your peace away. And yet, we don't have absolute peace. Same situation as Vyasji had thousands of years ago. Now Naraji gets to the root and he says, everything you're doing is right, you're just doing it for the wrong purpose. Every karma you do, if you do it for yourself, then you have to carry the weight of that karma, good or bad. All karma has to be carried by us. But if you give that karma to someone else, then they carry the weight of that karma. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna Bhagavan says to Arjun, Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa. Give me all of your actions. Leave everything unto me. Whatever you do, do it to please me. Don't do it for society. Help society. But in helping them, in your mind, the purpose should be you're pleasing me. Everything we do, if we do it with this purpose, keeping God and Guru in the forefront of our mind, that whatever I'm doing, whether it's my job, whether it's my education, whether it's helping my family, if I'm doing it to please God, all of a sudden, every action you take becomes devotion. Naraji goes back and he tells Vyasji, go to your ashram, write another scripture. But now keep this thought in your mind. And he gives them an example. Amayo yena bhutanam jayate yascha suvrata tadeva yamayam dravyam na punati chikitsitam. Imagine you go on a destination wedding with some of your friends. And the wedding food is going to be fantastic. Breakfast, brunch, lunch, 4 o'clock, dinner, and evening ice cream. You're eating 6 times a day, and you're eating heavy food. From breakfast, it feels like it's dinner. You go through this for 5 days, 30 meals. It's heavy. You come back, and you have stomach issues. So you go to the doctor, and the doctor says, okay, fine. You take this with milk, and you add my medicine to it. You have milk in the morning, and you add my medicine to it. It'll cure your disease. It'll cure your stomach aches. And you look at the doctor and say, brother, do you understand what I've gone through? The last 5 days, all I've had is milk and yogurt and ice cream and all of these things. I've been eating this for the last 5 days, and that's why I have a disease. That's why I have an illness. And the doctor says, yes, but that milk was different and this milk is different because this milk now has my medicine mixed into it. Naraji says, you don't have to change anything that you're doing. You don't have to change your career. You don't have to change your profession. You don't have to change your education. You don't have to change your lifestyle. All you have to change is the way you're doing it. That's the medicine in karma. Adding the yoga, the connection to God in your karma automatically turns it into karma yoga. Vyasji goes back into his ashram and he writes the 18th scripture, the Srimad Bhagavad Mahapuran, and he finds peace at the end of his life. Why is this important to us? Krishna is telling Arjun throughout the Bhagavad Gita, Tasmat yogi bhavarjuna. You have to become a yogi. What type of yogi? The type of yogi that moves to BAPS Swaminarayan Akshardham, wears orange clothes? Not that type of yogi. This is a king telling a prince that you have to become a yogi and fight this war. But if Arjun can become a yogi who fights a war, then you can become a teacher who is a yogi. You can become a student who is a yogi. You can become an engineer who is a yogi, or a doctor who is a yogi. There's nothing stopping us except this one switch that has to be dropped in our mind. And if you get this, everything you do automatically becomes devotion. Imagine, again, go back to the situation. You and your spouse are going to a party. And before you go to the party, you have to stop at the mall for whatever reason. And your spouse says, I want to buy these new clothes, I want to buy some jewelry, I want to buy some new electronic device. And you're thinking to yourself, oh man, this is 1,000 here, another 1,000 here, another 1,000 here. You can see the bank balance going smaller and you can see the check and the receipt going up. But at that time, if you have karma yoga and you think, I'm not buying this to please my spouse, I'm buying this for God. Your spouse will be extremely happy and you'll be at peace. Everyone wins. Think win-win. So karma yoga is for you to find absolute peace in everything you're doing in life. So today we learned 5 different steps of karma yoga. We can see this embodied in the gurus of today. For example, Pramukh Swami Maharaj and our guru right now, Mahan Swami Maharaj, they have imbibed this. They don't just sit all day with the rosary in their hand. They have meetings, they build mandirs, they travel the world, they meet millions of people. But all throughout their life, everything they did, they never had stress, depression, tension, frustration, anxiety. Why? Because they had connected every action to God. One time, Pramukh Swami Maharaj, our Guru, was in London, and he was speaking to a small child, and he told that child that you should turn 5 rosaries every morning. The child said, Swamiji, how many rosaries do you turn? Pramukh Swami said, I turn the rosary 24 hours a day. Everything that Pramukh Swami Maharaj was doing was a rosary. Even when he was sleeping, it was devotion. Mahan Swami Maharaj, in the year 2020, he shifted to a small village in Gujarat because of COVID. Now, for almost 85, 90 years, he had been so active, traveling the world, meeting millions of people, responding to thousands of letters, building so many temples, initiating swamis, helping for this Akshardham project progress, and then all of a sudden, limited to just 5 people. No other external interaction, and the same routine every single day. Not just for one day, for almost a year and a half. At one point, some of the attendants who were there, they asked Mahan Swami Maharaj, don't you get bored? Aren't you frustrated seeing the same 5 people every day? This is how we felt sometimes during COVID. Now you married those people, and yet you still get frustrated sometimes. I need to change. You wanted a vacation from your own family. Why? Because there's something that we haven't understood yet. At that time, Mahan Swami Maharaj said, every day, every place is exactly the same for me. So the Swamis there, they said, how can that be possible? Every day and every place is exactly the same? Mahan Swami Maharaj said, because every day and in every place and in every interaction, despite who is in front of me, I keep 2 people in front of me, God and Guru. Because those people are at the forefront of my mind. Every interaction I have gives me the same level of peace, whether I'm alone in a small village or I'm in America, surrounded by thousands. It makes no difference. So today, we learned 5 steps of Karma Yoga. Throughout the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna Bhagavan tells Arjuna, first, put in your full effort into everything you do. Second, in doing these actions, you are guaranteed to have some difficulties, but see those difficulties as opportunities, as blessings, not as curses. Third, understand, you are not just one individual person. We are all one big, happy family. Find your joy in the joy of others. Fourth, humility. Absolute humility. See everyone in front of you as another permutation, as another manifestation of God Himself. And the last, if you have God in the forefront of your mind, if you have your Guru at the forefront of your mind, every karma you do, no matter what it is, give that karma and the responsibility of that karma to God and Guru, and you'll never have to carry the weight of it throughout your life, and you will be at absolute peace. So today, I pray, again, I want to thank all of you for taking out your valuable time to learn this very important lesson. I pray that on behalf of all Gurus and all avatars, we get all of their blessings so that we can imbibe this into our lives. Astu.
So thank you so much. Let's give another round of applause to Swamiji. So I think now we have just a little bit of time. We've got a number of questions that have come in. I believe we also have a brief feedback form that we'd love for you to fill out. I don't know if that is, that QR code is on the screen or if we can put it up on the screen. But I will, so please do, it's a very short form, but please do fill that out so that in the same spirit of community that Swamiji spoke of so beautifully, we can try to learn how to better serve, right? Just as we want, with this mindset, if we can make this mindset shift to see everything as an opportunity to offer, we want to offer in the very best way. And so we see these programs and events that we hold also as offerings. And so it helps us to know what works, what doesn't work, how we could improve. We're constantly striving to improve. So please do take just a moment or two, click that QR code, fill out a brief survey, and let us know how we're doing and how we can serve you better. So we've had a few questions come in, and there are some duplicates, so I've tried to combine them. So one question that perhaps is a bit of a challenge as well. So Swami, you quoted, I believe, was this Pramukh Swami Maharaj, that in the joy of others, we find our own. And so the question is, in the joy of others lies our own, but isn't that still on the level of selfishness? Because we're still trying to find ways to be happy or joyful ourselves?
So it's a good question. In the joy of others lies our own is step 3 of Karma Yoga. We have to get to the top. So the last step is when even we do selfless actions, humble actions for this purpose, that we're only doing it to please God, not for ourselves at all. So step 1 is better than 0, doing everything to our fullest extent. That'll give us some peace. Now, seeing the difficulties as blessings, that'll give us more peace. Doing it in this mindset, that I'll find my happiness, it's still a selfish thought, you're right. But doing it with that mindset, that I'll find my happiness through yours, that's step 3. Step 4 is doing it humbly, absolute humility. And step 5 is then offering it everything to God. So the question is right, but remember that that's still step 3 of the whole 5-step process of Karma Yoga.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Another question asks that it sometimes feels easier to see God in others with people who we have very warm relationships with, or even with the stranger. But are we supposed to see God in those who have harmed us in the past and maybe actively harming us now? And related to that, how can we, a related question asks, it's easier when we're like reading the scripture or we're engaged in some spiritual practice to accept, but when we're in a situation, we tend to forget those teachings and we tend to just react to what's being done to us.
It's a good question. So the first is obviously the easier aspect, where we only see God in the people who are accommodating to us. But the spiritual practice, the actual difficult aspect, is the thing that's going to give you spiritual progress. For example, if you go to the gym every day and you only lift 5 pounds because that's easy, then you'll never get stronger. You have to break the muscle before you can make new muscle. In the same way, the challenge, when you're faced with the spiritual challenge, seeing God in people who aren't accommodating to you, or forgiving people that have maligned you in some way, when you get to that challenge and you pray and you can see God in them and forgive them and move on, then you've progressed spiritually. You've gotten stronger. This isn't going to happen overnight. This is a long process. But along with any long process, if you don't start, you'll never get further. For example, if we just be very honest, in the last year, I believe 4 BAPS mandirs were attacked throughout North America, various hate crimes. Now, every time there's a hate crime against any mandir, any religion, in any place, it's wrong. But now when it comes right to your doorstep, you have to learn something. In 2002, the first Akshardham in Gandhinagar was attacked by terrorists. Almost 40 people were killed. One of the Swamis was killed. And Pramukh Swami Maharaj, after that, he forgave the terrorists, but he let the government do their job. He let the courts do their process. But inside, he didn't have any malicious intent towards them. There was no revenge. And one day he was in Ahmedabad, a city nearby Gandhinagar, and there were a few Swamis in his room. And the Swamis were very upset, and they got emotional. And they said, you and this organization has never harmed anyone. So why would terrorists born and raised in a different country sneak into this country in a different port, then travel here, and nowhere else they attacked this temple, and they killed our people, our devotees, these innocent people? Why? Pramukh Swami Maharaj, he changed their vision. He said, when Gandhinagar Akshardham opened in 1992, 10 years earlier, everyone took it as a gift from God. Like, oh, this is a blessing. In 2002, God has given us a different situation. But the same person who gave it to us is God. This is also something from God. When you see the good and the bad both given to you by God, then all of a sudden, there's a certain level of equanimity that you get. In the Gita, in the 2nd chapter, it says, Sukha dukha sarveshu samahastitaha, to make happiness and misery equal. Now, that's not possible. Miserable situations and difficult situations are not going to be as happy as going to Disneyland. Happy is happy and sad is sad. But when you see happy and sad as both coming to you from the same person, then you don't feel anything. You become equal. You don't get overexcited in happiness, and you don't become miserable in sad situations. Now, I'm going to give one extra aspect of it. If there is some physical harm being done to you, then you have the right, and you should, take whatever steps are necessary to protect yourself, protect your family, the physical aspect, the mental aspect, but also the spiritual, your spiritual self should heal. And for that, you have to understand that this person is also a child of the same God. One child of God, another child of God. One child is acting inappropriately. So.
Thank you. What a beautiful answer. My gosh. So this next question, I think, is a broader question, but perhaps the questioner is seeking to take advantage of your presence here tonight. So we're going to go beyond Karma Yoga. But the question is about Hinduism as a tradition, and it asks, why are there so many different forms and versions of Hinduism? Some people believe very differently, so some other Hindu people believe very differently from the Swaminarayan tradition, and yet you all call yourselves Hindu.
It's a good question. In the Hindu scriptures, there's a mantra in the Ved, a Sanskrit couplet. Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. There is one truth, Ekam Sat. And everyone has a different experience of it. No one's experience of any religion is wrong, but everyone has a different experience. I'll give you two examples. Bhagwan Swaminarayan gives an example. He says, imagine 4 blind people who are seeing a cow. So one rubs his hand on the side, one rubs his hand on the tail, one rubs his hand on the leg, 4 blind people seeing an elephant, one grabs the trunk. If they all describe the elephant, one describes the elephant like a pillar because he was holding onto the leg, one describes the elephant like a wall because he was touching the side, one describes the elephant like a rope because he was holding the tail. Everyone is right, but everyone is somewhat incomplete. Until they have the vision of seeing everything as one, they won't have a holistic idea of religion. In the same way, there are different people who have different inclinations, different levels of faith, from where they're born, where they're raised, how they were raised, according to their own desires, what they want from the world. They find religion in their own way. And so no one is wrong, but everyone is searching to reach the end of their completeness. I'll give you another example. The second example is from Mahant Swami Maharaj. And he gives this example. He says, I'll make it for Princeton. He said, if you're studying engineering in Princeton, and there's another student studying engineering in Rutgers, nobody looks at that person and says, oh, this person, he's a fool. You understand that I'm going to be an engineer and that person's an engineer. The school is different. Also, if you're a PhD and you see someone who's in kindergarten starting on day 1 and he's learning how to write ABC, the PhD doesn't look at that student and think, oh my God, he's such a fool. He doesn't even know how to write the alphabet. Instead, he looks at him with hope. This is day 1. But one day, when he learns the alphabet, he'll progress so well, and hopefully he studies so well, he becomes a PhD. In the same way, Mahant Swami Maharaj says, this is how all religions should behave with each other. Not just Hindu, but all religions. One person is in Princeton, one person is in Rutgers. One person is in this religion, one person is in another religion, another person is a different school of religion. But everyone is a student of the same thing, everyone is a student of God. And at the same time, in that same religion, some are PhDs, some are high school, some are in middle school, some are in KG. So why would anyone who's higher ever look at someone who's lower than them and feel, okay, oh, this person is such a novice? No, be hopeful for everyone. Everyone is on the same path. So Hindu Dharma is very open like this. No matter where you are on the path, we have full faith that all of us are all going to end up in the same place over time. And because we believe in reincarnation, because we believe in Karma Siddhant, there's no rush. We really are in no rush at all. Many of us, you'll see throughout our entire lives, we're in no rush for anything. Right? But Hindus are in no rush. That whatever you accomplish in this life, whatever wisdom you accrue, it comes back to the next life. Arjuna asked this question in the Gita. He says, if I don't become enlightened, and if I can't imbibe this yoga, Karma Yoga, or Gnan Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, while I'm alive and I die before then, what happens? And Krishna Bhagavan says, Nahi kalyana krut kaschit durgatim tat gacchati. If you become a doctor right now and you die, and in your next life, you have to start again from kindergarten. You don't automatically get born as an MD doctor. But whatever wisdom you have, whatever virtues you have, those will carry over in your next life, and you'll start from there. Eventually, everyone, throughout many births, will all reach the same place. So that's why Hinduism is so open. Whether you're Swaminarayan, Vaishnav, Shaiv, Shakta, whether you're Christian, in Christianity, whether you're Protestant or Catholic, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Muslim, everyone is a student of their religion, but everyone is a student of the same thing.
Thank you. Beautifully said. So this next question asks, if this Karma Yoga teaching is such a core principle of the Gita, then why do we find within the Indian, and we might even say within the Hindu communities, that especially for parents to their children, there's so much pressure to only get the top grades, and why is there so much attachment and sometimes what seems to be a lot of selfishness and greed within this community that this is our primary scripture?
So I'll take it on two different aspects. I can't speak on behalf of parents because I don't have any personal experience, but what I feel for parents, especially first-generation immigrants, when a person moves to a new country and they have to learn a new language, they want safety and security over anything else. And I'll give you an example. I hope I'm not taking too much time. A few years ago in 2018, I went to Botswana. And after a discourse, I came back to the devotee's home where we were staying. And the devotee called ahead. It was a normal house, a small house. It wasn't anything special. He called the private security guard. The security guard came out, opened up the gate. He brought the car in. The security guard waited outside. And then he shut the gate. The driver told me, don't step out of the car. The security guard checked under the car. He tapped the side. I said, what is he checking for? He's checking if any snakes or anything have attached themselves to the bottom of the car. I said, fine. Like, why do you have a private security guard? He said, I want to make sure that nobody else is following our car inside. So then we get to the front door, and the guy, he takes out 2 keychains. And with the first keychain, he opens one screen door, then he opens another door, then he takes out the second keychain, and he opens a third door, a screen door to the inside. And then we go into the vestibule, where you take your shoes off. Then off the second keychain still, he opens another screen door. Then off the first keychain, he opens up door 4, 5, and 6, and then we enter into the living room. I said, 6 doors, 2 keychains. He said, yeah, because if somebody steals one keychain, they still can't get into the house. And then we get into the house, and then he explains the situation. He said, Botswana isn't a safe country. He said, I'm not a rich man, but I always feel unsafe, and I don't want my kids to live here. I want to do whatever I can to get my kids to a safe place. And that's when I realized that safety and security are usually the parents' main principle in their mind. They want to be safe and secure, and they want their kids to be safe and secure. So the reason that they promote STEM fields and they really push their kids to get good grades is because they know from their experience that the better your grades, the more likely it is you'll have a good job. And the more secure your job is, the more safe and secure you'll feel. So parents, when they push their children, they're pushing from a good place. They don't want to just mess with their children. They want to feel safe and secure for themselves and for you. Now, children on the opposite side, they have to understand that, and understanding that is half the battle. When they understand that my parents are telling me this, but they're telling me from a good place, they can have that dialogue with them, and they can explain what they want. They can go through the finances together. If the parents have done well, then the kids have more comfort zone to fail, and they can experiment with different things. They can try. Now, the kids, they also have to understand this principle of Karma Yoga. If you've tried your best, if you've honestly, only you know, nobody else will know. Your parents might say that you don't know, but if you know, then nobody can fault you. Our Guru Mahan Swami Maharaj, he gave a really nice blessing on 30th April 2022 in the village of Surat, and it's stuck with me ever since. It was a very small blessing, and he said, every one of you knows the difference between a truth and a lie. And in your heart, you know when you've been lying to yourself and when you've been true to yourself. And then he says, if you've been true to yourself, if 8 billion people in the world, and they all say that, no, you're wrong, 8 billion people cannot turn the truth into a lie. And if you lie to yourself, and 8 billion people say, no, you're good, 8 billion people in the world also cannot turn a lie into the truth. You will know. And you all know what is right and what is wrong. You know what is the truth and what is a lie. Do what is right, be true to yourself. Don't lie to yourself, and don't do what is wrong. So we look for external justification a lot. And this is just how our society works. We use that as fuel to come ahead. But if you can remove yourself from external justification and have that relationship between you and your own soul and God and Guru, and if you're honest with yourself, then you don't need anyone else. No one's criticism can hurt you. No one's compliments can push you forward.
Thank you. We've arrived at, I think, what needs to be our final question of the evening, and we're so grateful. I know that you have other commitments, and but we're so grateful that you've extended your time with us, in fact. So I'm going to modify this question. The question, and I'm going to add, I'm going to use my moderator's prerogative and add a little bit to it. So the question is, what is the measure of a successful life? The part that I'm going to add is in 3 words. So we're going to put you on the spot, Swami.
Okay.
The question is, what is the measure of a successful life? In 3 words.
Okay. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti means peace. In the Ved, they give the word Shanti at the end of every mantra 3 times. And there's a reason it's 3 times. It's not just a repetition. Physical peace with your physical body. Peace around in the world. You can create peace around you and peace spiritually in your soul. So a successful life is Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace in your physical body, peace in your community around you, your family, and as far as you can make your circle, and peace in your soul. And as Mahant Swami Maharaj, as I quoted, that 30th April 2022 blessing, you know what is right, you know what is wrong. Nobody can justify you, nobody can criticize you, nobody can compliment you. Once you become pure and true to yourself, then you'll be on the step of Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Thank you. Wonderful answer. Once again, thank you so much to both our esteemed guests for your presence, for your blessings, for your wisdom. We hope you can return very soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you again to everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for being with us this evening. We want to invite you, please. Our esteemed guests do have to make their way back to what lies beyond this campus. So we want to allow them to do that. In the meantime, we want to invite you, if you do have some extra time, please do stay. Click on that QR code, fill out that feedback exit survey for us. And we also have some volunteers from the community. And as Swami said, we have to honor the truth of Swami's words. He guaranteed, promised prasad. And it is, for those following Agyaras or Ekadashi, it is Agyaras Ekadashi compliant prasad. So please do, we have some volunteers, I believe, who are going to help with the distribution of that prasad. So please just hang tight and do take the prasad. It's in a to-go container. And please do take that with you. Once again, on behalf of the Princeton University Office of Religious Life, Hindu Life program, thank you all so much and have a wonderful night.